mateys! Are you ready for this Halloween season? My name's Emily and I'm from Go Big or Go Home Cosplay, and I'm with Plaid Crafts teaching you how to make pirate accessories for this Halloween season. It's perfect because you can take regular everyday items like rainbows or clay, EVA foam, and change it into something that really completes your costume. You are going to be the talk of the party. Alrighty, so we're featuring some of our wonderful paints from our cosplay finishing kit. It's great and really helps you elevate your cosplay or costuming game. Alrighty guys, let's get started. All right, thank you, John, for joining me. I'm really excited about getting started on these projects.
Absolutely, happy to help.
So the first one that we're going to do is making this really cool gold doubloon. This is great for party favors or even passing out to trick-or-treaters, or just a really fun, prop to have for your private costume.
All right.
So to get started, we are going to be using EVA foam, or you can use craft foam, and then this is the pattern that we have. In order to make this X, we are going to be using hot glue. It's really simple. So for this one, we'll take our piece of EVA foam that we've cut out, and then you're just going to make an X. Start off on one end, and gently do your X, just like that. One line and two lines. Now, they don't have to be perfect, very simple. I like the idea of putting just a little dash right here on the ends because it gives it a little something extra to look at. So here we go, we just make small little lines. Super simple. Rotate your doubloon, add another line, keep going. Once you finish, you allow this to cool, and then you can prime and paint it. Alrighty, John, so we've allowed our hot glue to cool. You can touch it. Why don't you go ahead and pour yourself out some Mod Podge matte, and then we're going to prime our EVA foam and hot glue so we can add the treasure gold.
Sounds good.
Here you go. I'll hand you a paintbrush.
All right, I'm on it.
Okie dokie. And we're going to move on to the next project. So right here, we have our pirate eye patch pattern. This is what it looks like after you cut it out on EVA foam. If you're wondering how we got these little holes, all you have to use is a hole punch. Super simple. If you have them for your kids, you can just use that and it'll allow you to be able to add string, just like our final product, so you can attach it onto your face when you're ready to wear your pirate costume. So what are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and prime our EVA foam, just like John is doing on our gold doubloon. Why don't you hand me some of that Mod Podge, please?
There you go.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pour some onto my palette. Mod Podge is great for priming EVA foam because it's a porous material, and when you prime it, it allows the paint to sit on it without soaking into the foam.
Because of the detail here, I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush, if you don't mind.
Sure, I can hand you the paintbrushes right here, John.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Which is your favorite brush for doing details?
Well, you always want to size the brush to the project, so I think it's just a matter of personal preference, but you really want to do, I think, as large a brush as will fit so that you can work quickly and easily. But obviously, like this little scruffy brush is perfect for something like this.
That's right, because it has so many grooves in it that you really want to be able to get into there so your paint can sit nicely on top.
Yeah, and you don't want the Mod Podge all bunched up here in the corners where you've got your hot glue.
That's right. So as you can see here, I've primed the eye patch with Mod Podge matte, and I really tried to make sure that I didn't get too many brush strokes on it. If you want to expedite the process for drying this, you can use a blow dryer just like this, and you just put it on a high or low setting depending upon how quickly or how patient you are.
Sure.
And then you just hit it, and then we're good to go. Okay, so now that we've allowed our pieces to dry, we're going to be putting some paint on. For the gold doubloon, we're going to be using our Folk Art Treasure Gold. This is perfect for any kind of treasure because it says it in the name. Look at this, it's so pretty and shiny. It really feels like something that you feel as a pirate you are fighting for. So John, here you go. You just put some on your palette, and then I'm going to move on to the eye patch. For the eye patch, we're going to be painting it red and yellow. And in order to make those colors pop, we're going to be using our Folk Art Titanium White on multi-surface, okay? So while John's doing the treasure gold, I'm going to be painting white. I'm going to put a little bit onto my palette. And then with the same flat brush that I was using before, I'm just going to dip it into the paint and apply onto the layer that I primed with the Mod Podge.
This treasure gold is absolutely stunning. It is so just
Luscious?
vibrant. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the word is. It's the goldiest gold.
That's right, John. I love
I'm
using
sure
it.
goldiest gold is not the way that you would normally describe it, but
It's
a great.
Brilliant metallic luster.
That's right. It really is.
So what you'll notice with the treasure gold is that even on the first application, it looks beautiful. If you want to intensify the pigmentation, you can add a few more layers, but that's really personal preference. So for me, I've applied one layer of the white, and I'm going to apply one more layer because it's going to allow it to have a full coverage and a smooth finish all the way through. If you notice, I really tried not to have any of my paint cake up in the brush strokes as I was applying. So we're going to hit this one time with the blow dryer, and we'll come back.
That's right. Okay, so Emily, while you're working on the eye patch, I did just want to show, this is how the treasure gold looks on the black after just one coat, and then this is after a second coat. So you can see with just that second coat how beautiful that gold finish is. This is a water-based acrylic paint, and it is absolutely the most beautiful metallic finish that you will find in a water-based paint. It has no odor, it is non-toxic, it's really just an incredible formula. So very quickly and easily you can see how to make something look beautifully shimmering gold.
It transforms it. It doesn't even look like foam anymore.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start applying a yellow color onto our eye patch now, and it's going to be the Folk Art Podge Yellow. It's named after Mod Podge because it's the Mod Podge yellow that everybody knows and loves. And look at that. If we were to paint this yellow onto a black surface on the EVA foam, it would not look like that stark yellow. This is why painting the white base is so important, because it helps the transition change easier for you, and you're going to be less frustrated when trying to paint your projects.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to apply a solid layer here. You only have to do one because the white is doing all the work for you.
Right. And the folk art paint does have beautiful coverage, but you know, for taking something like a yellow and putting it over the black, you still do want to have that white base coat. But once you've got that, you can see one coat, how easily that looks.
This is how it looks. I mean, literally, this took me like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know? And so we're going to hit this with a blow dryer and come back and add our red lines so it can start to look like our finished project. So now that we've allowed our eye patch yellow, the Podge yellow, to dry, we're going to be adding red stripes to this. To do that, we're going to be using the Folk Art Engine Red. I love this color because it's the perfect red tone and it really adds to so many different projects. I'm going to apply some onto my palette right here, and then I'm going to pull out the secret ingredient. It's going to be the flat number 6 brush. This is perfect because it allows you to get such smooth lines, but if you feel a little bit uncomfortable, or maybe you don't have as steady as a hand, you can use masking tape that's really, really thin to be able to block off the lines for you. But we're not taking it that serious, and we're just going to kind of wing it and have fun.
Yeah, and if it kind of has that handcrafted look, that's fine. These lines don't have to be perfect.
Right, it's a costume, it's for a pirate, it might be for your kid, and we just want to make sure that it's relatively even, and making sure to have a steady hand with the number 6 flat brush will be able to do that. So in order for me to be able to make sure that I'm even on both sides, I'm going to start off in the center, and I'm going to just draw a straight line down the middle. I typically will flip my brush and then go through and then cover up any areas that need a little bit more attention. So just like that. And then now that I have the single line in, I'm going to just go through and add on either side to make sure that I'm keeping consistent.
Right. So it's a great idea to start in the middle to help organize how many stripes you're going to have and make sure that everything is centered.
Correct. So you see here, it doesn't matter if the yellow line is a little bit, thinner than the red, that's okay. You just want to be consistent with whatever you're doing. So to make this easier for me, since I'm right-handed, I'm going to flip this and work on the other side.
That's one of the things that I've learned from watching our Let's Paint videos, is that you should never be afraid to turn your surface so that you're painting in the direction that's comfortable for you. Sometimes people feel like they have to leave their canvas or their eye patch or whatever they're painting in one
Yeah.
orientation and struggle. You just turn it so that it's always in a comfortable position for you.
Right. I feel like I've always been scared to do that whenever I'm painting on an easel, because I feel like, oh, I gotta like undo it and then reposition it. But working on a flat surface like this, it's really simple to just turn it as you go. And look, we're almost done. I'm gonna continue to load my brush on my palette, go back and add the next line. Flip my brush if I need to. There we go. So here we have it. Now, we're going to allow this to dry, and then for a final touch, if you're feeling fancy, we're going to go in and add this black dash line to look like stitching. I love the idea of making a DIY pirate hook, and there's no better way to do this, to make it super simple and so realistic.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is what the final product is going to look like. So we have our oven-baked clay and then our aluminum foil. So the first thing that we're going to do is build up our main structure with aluminum foil. Super simple. So let's get started. To get your hook going, we're just going to pull a long slip of aluminum foil, cut it off, okay? Then, just keeping it as it is, we're going to start rolling accordingly, okay? So it's very simple. You're just going to be creating a, just a long strip. You can flatten it as you go, but the trick here is to build up, right?
Sure.
And the reason why you don't just go directly into your oven-baked clay is because it's going to take forever to harden in the oven. So it says in the instructions that if you're building anything, go ahead and just bulk out those shapes. So that's exactly what we're doing now. And we're just going to take our roll and just keep going. So simple. You can crinkle it. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you get a little offline, you can undo and then correct yourself. So when you get to about this stage, we know that, especially if you're making this for an adult, we want to lengthen our hook because we have to have somewhere to hold on to it. So if you'd get me another piece, John, I'm going to show you how to do that. Perfect. So to lengthen our piece, we're going to take, let me give myself some more room, we're going to take our handle and then kind of fold it over like this, and then have it like this. So we're bulking up the edge to add more length, and then we roll. So now we've added about 2 more inches onto the end, just like that. So as you can see here, we've added a little bit more. And if you need to go longer, you absolutely can. When you get to this stage, you'll notice that we need to curve this to make it look more like a hook. So we're going to take this and make it have that round shape. So you'll have something that kind of looks like a J. If you turn it this way, you've got a nice J.
All right.
Great way to teach your kids the alphabet, right? So you have it right here. Now, something that you'll notice whenever you're making a pirate's hook is that you cannot leave your handle completely straight. What you're going to want to do is curve it in like this, because when you're holding it, the cover that's going to go over, you have to have space for your hand. So you're going to have this arch so much, and then it's going to have an angle. Okay?
Yeah, as you can see, it does come out from this cover part as an angle.
So it's going to come out as an angle, because if you create it straight and then put it on your base onto it, you're not going to be able to get your hand in there. So you're really going to want to have that angle here, like a 45-degree angle coming in. And then you can adjust your hook as you see fit like that. So John, can I have another piece of aluminum foil, please?
Sure.
Thank you kindly. All right, so for here, you really don't have to be super, professional about it. We're just going around on the curvature right here, and we're bulking it out because we want it to be a little bit thicker. So the goal here is going to have our oven-baked clay be 1/4 of an inch thick.
Got it.
So however big you bulk it out, that's going to be relatively the size of it. When you are holding it in your hook handle, this is going to be the angle that you're going for, okay? You don't want it to be like this, because you can't create the dome so your hand can go in there. So we're really looking for something like this. It's a candy cane, right?
Okay.
Christmas for Halloween. So now that we have our base, we're going to pull our oven baked clay. And what's great about this is I've actually been able to make 2 other hooks, the main hook, the demo hook, which we're going to be painting, and then this one with the same block of Sculpey. So I'm going to have one more piece of aluminum foil, please, John.
Okay.
And this one's going to be to protect our surface. We don't want to get this oven-baked clay onto our table, so we're just going to be building right on here. So go ahead and take your Sculpey out. Now, if you've never used this product before, it's so simple. You're just going to break off. They come in like these little tubes, it looks like, and you're going to knead it. Just a little bit to where it gets rid of those lines, and it's not too tough to work with. So John, if you want to start kneading some of it.
Warm it up a little bit in your hands.
You just warm it up a little bit in your hands, and this is going to make it softer to work with. It's like a very dense Play-Doh. So if you can press your thumb in and get an impression, then that means that it is good to go.
All right.
So remember, we're working on a 1/4 inch or thinner to go on our hook. And this does not have to be perfect. So as you can see here, I just started on one end, and then I'm spreading out the oven-baked clay to where it just has a very smooth layer around the base of the handle. And again, we are not going for a perfect hook, metal hook here. We're going for the hammered look. So if it's imperfect, it's totally okay.
Okay.
So I have added the bottom, you can see here, and I'm just going to take a little bit more clay and just start coating the entire part of the hook. As you can see here, I've hardly used any amount of clay, and we're already like 1/6 of the way through putting on this hook. So using that aluminum foil makes a huge difference.
And it really does. Going back to the finished project, you can see this. This really has that hammered look about it, like a pirate blacksmith may have used to make something like this. So it's really
and that's what's great about this project is that it can be as imperfect as you want. If you want to have a kink in it, then have a kink in it. That is totally okay. Or maybe you want to have, how like when you see in pirate movies, how they have all the attachments on their hooks? Like I remember watching Peter Pan or something, and he would like take off the hook and like put on a fork or something so he could eat. I feel like this would be cool, like if you wanted to have like a bunch of different attachments.
Sure.
Like you totally could.
Could be a lot of fun.
It could be a lot of fun. So definitely, and just go through, and as you see here, I'm just rotating it and just making sure that I have a consistent thickness, because that will help when your clay goes into the oven. So I'm just going to flatten this out a little bit with my thumbs, and we are almost done.
The great thing about these videos and all of the videos that we do is that you can pause and catch up to where we are, take your time with something, rewind, how did they do that, go back. And this is supposed to be relaxing and fun, so you don't want to be stressed trying to keep up.
No stress here,
So hit the pause button, get your clay out, and get yourself all cut up.
Okay, so we're coming close towards the peak tip of the hook, and we still haven't used like all of our clay yet, so we're doing great with material. Once we get to the base and we finish this, I'll show you how to even exaggerate that hammered effect with your fingertips, and it's really going to sell that realistic look. This is by far easier than trying to make this a smooth metal finish and like trying to sand it afterwards. Like I would lose my mind. And then like the texture is what makes it seem like a real hammered, metalsmith was working on it, and very different than a hook that you could purchase, pre-made. This is just that realism that sells a costume.
Right.
Okay, so when you get to the peak, you can kind of see here, nope, I'm not going to need any more, John,
any more?
but thank you. So when you get to the tip here, we're going to want to refine that a little bit, and just take your fingers and just, we don't want it sharp. I know that kids, are going to pretend that they're hurting somebody, but we really don't want to hurt anybody. So we're going to make sure that, the tip isn't super pointy. We just want to make it have a nice little slope to where it comes to a peak. So this is kind of, where we're at right now in the process. You can kind of see here, it still looks like a J or a fish hook a little bit, and it has a very inconsistent surface coverage, but we're going to go in with our fingertips. If you've got long nails, be mindful because we don't want any of your nail prints to be seen, but we're just going to go in and just poke it with the tips of your finger and just make that hammered effect more exaggerated. If you, get any of your fingerprints in it, that's okay. We're going to be painting over it and it's not going to be seen very much, but we're just going in and just pressing very gently. We don't want to go all the way through to the aluminum foil. We just want to add some dips and dings, and if you want to add a gash, you could do that too. And then there you go. See?
And as we get into the painting, having all of these little indentations and so on are a great place for the color to sort of pool, or you can see where the
depth.
Yes, that's exactly right. You can see where the light and the shadow is able to come in due to all these little indentations and so on.
Yeah, so what you're going to do is you're going to follow the instructions on the back of your oven baked clay. I suggest using like a glass baking dish, with a liner in it. And then I think it took us about 45 minutes to bake the entirety of this. And then if you want to, you can pop it into your freezer and it'll cool it a lot faster and you can get right on to painting. Okay, so now we've made our pirate's hook, and we need to make the cover that goes over our hand because it'd be pretty silly to have a hook but also have a hand.
Right.
So we've been showing you how to work with EVA foam on simple projects like an eye patch or a gold doubloon, but what about making something that has some more curvature or even a pattern with sides? Well, let me show you what we have. This is going to be the pattern for our pirate's hook. And you can check out a link in the description that sends you to Evil Ted. He's got a great channel that shows you how to work with EVA foam, adhere all the sides together, and create shapes to really make it have a realistic finish. So this is what we did with our pattern. We used 4 sections of EVA foam, and we took it and rounded it and then came to a point at the top to create this dome shape. So once you do that, you can insert the hook that we made right into the top of it and secure it with a couple layers of foam on the outside and on the inside with hot glue. I find that keeping the tip of it exposed, kind of like a straw would go into a drink, will allow more stability in order to make sure that your hook is not going to wiggle around when you're holding it. So very simple pattern. We're making 4 cuts of this, creating the shape, and Evil Ted does a great job explaining that in his tutorial in the description.
Okay.
So now, John, we're going to talk about how to make our hook look like our finished product. And to do that, let's start off with the hook here. We're going to be using the Folk Art brushed metal, brushed black, and pale silver. Okay. So these are the 2 that we're going to be using, starting off with the brushed black. For this step, I'm going to be using the 3/4 inch flat brush onto our palette. So let's go ahead and pull that out and put some paint down.
Okay.
I love this paint. I use this on, I don't know, like 90% of my costumes, and it just has that realistic metal finish that I've never seen in a paint before. I'm sold. Like, I love it. I feel like I have really pristined that technique, and I use it all the time.
If you go to plaidcosplay.com and check out the tutorials that we have there, you will see Emily doing this metallic finish technique, and it really is amazing. And it's not hard. I mean, honestly, even a beginner can get a beautiful metallic finish using these brushed metal paints in this technique that she's going to show you right here. I've done it myself, and it is great.
Yeah, well, thank you, John. I really appreciate that. So the beauty of using the gray color clay that we did is that we don't really have to add, multiple layers of paint. This is one layer. I mean, you can see, because it has that light gray tone to the brushed black, it just soaks up the paint so beautifully. And we're going to apply this in a thin layer all the way around the hook. let it dry, and then we'll go in and add highlights, which is going to bring it to life. Very, very cool.
Now, is it better to paint the hook after you've got it all assembled like you're doing now, or should you paint the hook before and then insert it into the cover?
So I would suggest doing it after it's all assembled because you don't have to paint the inside.
Right.
You're only painting the part that's exposed, and you don't want to, spend your time painting something that's never going to be seen.
And it's a super convenient way to hold it so you don't have to do one side, let it dry, and then do the other side.
Yeah, no,
okay.
This is like the perfect way to hold the hook and get all the angles. So you can go back in, make sure that any of the areas, on the inside or around the edges, and then there you go.
It already looks amazing.
It already looks really cool. And then we're going to add the highlights, and it's going to be great. So go ahead and hit this with your blow dryer to speed up the drying process, and then we can move on to the next step.
Sounds good.
Okay, so now the really fun part. We're going to be adding highlights onto the Pirate's hook by using the brush metal pale silver. To do this, I'm going to put some onto the palette and then grab a 3/4 inch scruffy brush. So this is what we're going to do. It's what makes the magic happen. You can also get yourself some paper towels because we're going to offload some of the paint onto here so it doesn't cake up so much onto the handle. So we're going to load our brush just like this. And then on our paper towel, we're just going to wipe away some of that so our brush doesn't have too much paint. We're going to hold it with our handy handle on the inside. And then we're just going to lightly brush to where it doesn't go into all the crevices, but it's reaching all of those peaks. And then you'll notice
it comes alive right before your eyes. It really does.
Right before your eyes. I mean, it is just incredible what that hammered effect will do to really bring it to look like a realistic metal finish. And the scruffy brush allows you to have looser bristles so it doesn't have an even flow onto the surface.
And that's a very light technique that you're doing. You don't really want to completely cover the coat that you had underneath.
Right, yeah, we are not going heavy-handed on this. We are just adding a very thin layer onto it, making sure to at least cover the areas, like you don't want to miss the top up here. Add some more paint onto your paintbrush, offload, and then with a light touch, go through and you'll see it. It just simply works the magic for itself.
Just like a dry brushing technique. Really don't want to overdo it. Don't need to.
So, I mean, there you go. I mean, that literally took me no time at all to get a realistic metal finish. And you want to know what that comes from? It comes from the texture that you applied using your fingers to the clay. All of that did the work for you.
That's
your kids
amazing.
could do this. I mean, really, it took no time at all.
Yeah, you can see how easy it is.
Right. And so let's look at this one. And then what we would suggest to add is on these sections right here on the top, as you can see John holding, we're going to be using the treasure gold, just like we did for the gold doubloon. And then we're going to be painting this black with the folk art pure black. And then if you want to, you can even add a skull onto your hook using the titanium white.
Sure.
Yeah, so we really hope that you love this. It's such a fun technique and great for Halloween.
Yeah, this is a great project and easy to do.
Yeah, very easy to do. Be sure to let us know if you make this because I want to see it. Thank you so much for watching. If you make any of these cosplay or costume accessories for your Halloween costume, be sure to tag Plaid Cosplay and Plaid Crafts. Thank you so much, guys, and ahoy matey, see you next time.